Finally, we have a proper PRS style stock for the Ruger 1022 pattern rifles, and leave it to KIDD to bring it out. Now guys, this stock was released in October of 23. I didn't even know it was available until last month when I seen it on Joe Cyclops' new rifle. Now this is a 7-slot M-LOK style chassis. Now you've seen these chassis before. KIDD has made a tactical style chassis with 3 M-LOK slots, mainly for like Steel Challenge or any type of shooting that requires fast movement and fast target acquisition. This is not that. This is a precision style chassis for bench rest, PRS shooting, anything where you have to do precision. And precision requires weight. And this chassis actually balances too. Now there's been a ton of stocks released for the 1022. MDT does make their Oryx style chassis, and we're going to do a little bit of comparing to the Oryx chassis here in a little bit. But the Oryx chassis did not have M-LOK compatibility in the front, so you couldn't put any weights on it. It took a 28-inch barrel to balance out that Oryx stock, and it's a little long. I mean, it's a little ridiculous looking actually. That's what it took to balance out that Oryx chassis. Other than that, I thought that that was probably the closest thing that we've had to a precision style chassis up until now. Now this chassis accepts AR-15 style stock, so you'd put a buffer tube on it and then whatever stock you would choose to put on that. Now honestly, if you went with a low set of rings, you could probably get by with you know, any type of an AR-15 stock. I went with the Rival Arms because I already had it actually. We went with the Rival Arms Precision rear stock here. It does have adjustable comb height, adjustable length of pull. This thing is very adjustable, but it's a little costly. But it's probably the more reasonable one on the market. Now XLR makes them, MDT makes one, but they're, you know, in the $300 range. I think you can get this one if you look hard enough for around $160. But you could get by with just a regular AR-15 style buffer tube and stock as long as you use the lower rings. You don't really need a high cheek piece with this chassis system. Now the other big difference between the PRS style chassis and their tactical chassis is the ARCA. This does have a full ARCA rail in it, and you know, I was able to balance this rifle out with just one set of XLR weights in the front. Now all of KIDD's chassis, you can use their rear tang. Now this also has another way to retain the different style receivers that do not have the KIDD rear tang option available, so like pretty much everything but KIDD receivers. There is, underneath this buffer tube, there is a screw that goes through the back here, and it goes in far enough where it sits in between the trigger guard and the receiver, and it really holds the back of this nice and tight. Matter of fact, I didn't really find the need to use the rear tang with this chassis system. So let's go to the studio and I'll show you the tactical style chassis and the totally different way you can set up your KIDD rifle. So stand by. So before we get into the KIDD tactical chassis, I want to show you the differences between the Oryx chassis and the new KIDD Precision chassis. Now in the Oryx chassis, the #1 difference is this is not M-LOK compatible. So putting weights and trying to balance out your rifle, you're kind of limited to the barrel. And in order to get this chassis to balance out, you actually have to get ridiculously long with your barrel or put some type of ARCA weight on the front of it. This rifle weighs 14.5 pounds as it sits. Now the KIDD Precision chassis, the way I have that rifle set up, that one weighs 13 pounds and it's 8 inches shorter because we got all this barrel hanging out here to balance it out. Now I'm not knocking the 28-inch barrel setup I got here. Guys, this thing is super long and it's a great bench rest rifle, but for PRS shooting, it's way too long. Getting it in and out of barricades is just ridiculous. So I would not recommend going this route unless you're, you know, putting this on a bench rest rifle, because in order to balance this out, we had to make this unit about 46 inches long. That's a long rifle for a 22. Now the Oryx chassis relies on this rear screw back here to lock down the back of the receiver. So the KIDD chassis has an adjustment screw. You have to take off the buffer tube, but there's an adjustment screw that goes through the chassis and it sits between the receiver and the trigger guard, and it makes for a very solid lockup in the back here. So between that and your action screw in the front here, this makes for a very sturdy, very rigid system. So all it takes to adjust the rear hold down screw back here is a 5/32 Allen. So you have to take the buffer tube off, and it goes through the chassis and it sits between the receiver and the trigger guard, and you just get that so that it's snug. You don't want to tighten it up too much because it will push the receiver forward. So you just get it to where it starts to push that receiver forward, and then tighten up your front action screw and you're good to go. If you want to use the rear tang, it's very available. There's a slot in here that you could use that if you wanted. I didn't really find a need for it because it's so rigid just like it is, and it's a lot easier to take apart that way. Now the nice thing about this type of a stock system is the sky's the limit, guys. You can put the AR-15 buffer tube on here with any type of AR-15 stock, and as long as you go with a lower type of ring, you don't really need the cheek riser on that setup. But if you do want that, they do have these type of stocks available, like I said earlier in the video. There's also Picatinny caps available for these, where you could put like a foldable Sig Cross stock on here, which would also be really good for the tactical chassis. So let's get into that tactical chassis now. So this is KIDD's tactical chassis setup. Now this has M-LOK slots at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position. It's rear tang compatible. It also has the universal rear hold down screw for non-KIDD receivers. Now this rifle comes in at 4 pounds, 12 ounces without the bipod or the red dot. Now with the red dot, we come in at 5 pounds on the nose. Now this is a super maneuverable rifle, so it works great for steel challenge or anything where you have to be super fast at moving that rifle from target to target. This thing will excel. The nice thing about a rifle like this is it's very universal. This rifle is at home with a red dot on it, shooting steel challenge targets like this. Or if you throw a scope like this on it, it's capable of doing things like this. All right, guys, we're at 50 yards with the KIDD ultra lightweight rifle. We're shooting SK long range match. We're just going to shoot a few groups and see how this rifle might act as a bench rest or PRS rifle. Boy, if it weren't for that first shot, that would have been a hell of a nice group. I'm actually going to go down a tad. I keep shooting out my my bullseye. Oh my. Look at that. This thing's crazy accurate. So guys, it looks like this rifle can pretty much do anything. These KIDD chassis are top-notch, guys. The fit and finish is perfect on them. They're very adjustable. You don't have to use a KIDD receiver. Now, I'd highly recommend it because comparing the quality of a KIDD receiver to the quality of like a Brownells, there's a big difference. There's a big difference in the fit and finish. They're really not that much more to just put a good quality product on there. I've had a little bit of trouble with the Brownells receivers. I've had a little bit of trouble with the Brownells bolts. And matter of fact, I've returned Brownells bolts and bought KIDD bolts, and it solved my problem. So I've been finding that it's just better to just buy the better product right off the bat. Buy once, cry once, and really you're not crying too hard, because KIDD's products really aren't that much more than like the little bit less expensive products. They're a tad bit more, but you get so much more for your money. This product is, I mean, the action is solid as a rock. It doesn't move in these chassis, and that's without the rear tang installed. So, you know, if you were to happen to use a different receiver, or if you wanted to buy this and put your current rig in it, I have no doubt that it would fit just as nice as this one does. Guys, I can't recommend these chassis highly enough. They're super good quality. The ergonomics are, you know, just what you expect. Everything that you would expect from KIDD is, you know, alive and well in these products. Now, there's very few things as far as innovation that have come out in the last few years for the 1022. I think that this precision stock, being it has the M-lock, and it's so universal where you can put just about any chassis that you, or any stock that you would like on these things, because it does have the AR-15 platform. Now, I wasn't sure that I was going to be crazy about that, but when you look at how many different you know, combinations you could come out with or come up with to put a stock on this, I mean, they're endless. I mean, there are, it's just, you know, you're limited by your budget. And I think what I would like to do with this particular build is I think I might put the Picatinny adapter on the back of this, and maybe put like a SIG brace or you know, some type of a foldable stock on it, just for the hell of it, just so that I could make this a little bit more portable and, you know, up the cool factor a little bit. You know, KIDD has done it again, in my opinion. They've put out a very good product, and I think you should take a look at them if you're in the market for any type of a stock or chassis. You know, they're not cheap, but guys, again, you get what you pay for. So, all right, guys, well, that's pretty much all I got for you today. So if you like what you saw, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you like what I'm doing here, go down there, comment, like, subscribe. I could use your help building this channel. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.